Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. I think there is a certain irony, I suppose, when Scotland's mammy is now blaming others for her failure to care for the children of Scotland. She's calling herself the chief corporate parent of the country. I find that, well, first of all, insulting and disingenuous. A woman who herself has never had children cannot call herself a parent of anything. And I'm not having a go at her personally for not having children. There are many people for whom children would be a blessing, and it just never happened. It's sad and unfortunate for them. But she's using that. She's weaponizing the term to try and embolden herself, to make herself greater, and it's not right to do. The very fact is that for many of the children in Scotland who are impoverished and miserable, leading unfulfilling lives with no future, this is directly as the result of her policies. She cannot blame others when she ruled with an iron fist and never allowed dissent. It was always Nicola's way or the highway. But we'll take a look at this to see why she's blaming others for her own failures. Let's go. So Nicola Sturgeon labels herself chief corporate parent, as she blames others for failure of key children in care promise. Now, she's not a corporate parent. There is no such thing as a corporate parent. And how very dare she try to tell others how to raise their children and what they should do. If she wanted to be a parent so much, she could sort that out herself. She could have got pregnant. She could have adopted. But she decided not to because her career was more important. And now that lack of children in her life is coming back to haunt her. And she's trying to inveigle herself so that she can be the parent to every child in Scotland. I wouldn't let her anywhere near a child. She's so toxic. The former First Minister always claimed that her aim to reform the care system in Scotland through the promise was one of her main aims, but attacked her former government for failing to implement it, despite only resigning last year. She's had years to implement this, and she never did. And she can't blame others because nobody in her government would ever say anything against her. She wouldn't have it. She would not have dissent. She would have nobody saying anything that she didn't like. She used to give that glare, that basilisk eye, to people who said anything that she wasn't comfortable with. People were scared of her in her party, and she didn't listen to anyone. So every failure, every single failure is down to Nicola. And that's how it's got to be. And for her to sit there and say, I'm failing the children in Scotland, well, love, yes, you are. It's down to you. But don't be blaming other people for what you've done. Anyway, Nicola Sturgeon claimed she was called the chief corporate parent in Scotland as she blamed others for the failure of her much-lauded promise to children in care. Children who are mainly in care because of her. The former First Minister described how emotional she got announcing that she wanted to overhaul the care system by 2030 in her 2016 SNP conference speech. So 5-6 years later, still not been done. Nearly 7 years later, still not been done because what? Can't afford it, Nick. Don't understand how children work. Don't understand the trials and tribulations, the problems, the issues. You don't understand what it's like to worry. No, of course you don't. Because you're a sociopath. You're concerned only with Nicola Sturgeon. The progress on this has been glacial, with the Policies Oversight Board admitting last year that it was unlikely to be completed by 2030. It said, sadly, due to worsening circumstances for so many and the current pace of change, the Promise Oversight Board does not believe that delivering the original aims is realistic within that time frame. It shouldn't take that long. Change can be quick. Change can be brutally quick sometimes. But the real reason is that she makes these things, she says these things. She wants the press to see her as someone who's deeply concerned with the people of Scotland, deeply concerned about their needs. She wants to be this saintly figure, Saint Nick, basically. She wants to be the Queen of Scotland, the caring Queen. Look at me. I'm careful. I'm loving. I'm considerate. She's a psychopath. A narcissistic psychopath. Because once the papers have gone and the press have finished, she just ignores it and just goes back to doing what she does best. Planning destruction of the nation. Miss Sturgeon abdicated blame for this as she hit out at the media for making politics about the easy choice and blamed very, very vested interests for pushing back against changes and institutional inertia, which makes it sound more passive than it actually is, she said. She's running the country. She can change things. She's changed so many things that happened very quickly. Why couldn't she change this? Because she didn't want to. That's why. She's just talking a good game. She wants to build herself up again. She knows she's done in politics. She's probably quitting. She's trying to leave a legacy of care. Look at me. I tried my best. I was this caring person as I'm leaving politics. Because what else has she got? What is her legacy? Apart from failure. Apart from money laundering. Apart from embezzlement. Apart from misery, poverty, a burning field with bodies lying askew. That's what she's left. She's left the Somme. Scotland is like the bloody Somme after her. It's all division, hatred, bigotry, anti-Englishness. She wanted to rule with an iron fist, and she did, and that's what's caused all the problems. But she doesn't want that, of course, to be her legacy. So now she's coming up with this bullshit that she actually cared about people, about children, and that's her legacy. The Queen of Love for her people. Fuck off, Nicola. You're an evil witch. Anyway, but now, leaving office, she's claimed that there was an implementation gap. There was a lot of gaps, wasn't there? With the policy, which meant it was failing to achieve effective change in the system, despite strong rhetoric. It was known as The Promise and was created as part of a response to the Independent Care Review, which found that children in care were over-policed and over-criminalised. Yes, but so many of them ended up in care because of you, because of the SNP, because of their policies. You've got to look at all the children removed from people because of, say, substance abuse, which has blown up massively under your government. Miss Sturgeon told the BBC Radio 4 about how emotional she was. I don't believe her. I don't think she has emotions. Hate. That's the only emotion she has. Hate and a desire for power. That's all. Anyway, she talked about the emotional she got when she was giving her speech in 2016. She said, I decided in advance that as I delivered that commitment, I would look directly at them and pretend to cry. Holds onion. Because they were looking directly at me. They called me the chief corporate parent in the country. You're never a parent. You're never a parent. Parents care about their children. You don't give a shit. She said, and I think they wanted to see if I meant it. You didn't. And if I was determined to look at them. But I did so. I knew I wasn't going to get through the speech without crying. What a load of shite. What an absolute load of bollocks this woman speaks. This is just her trying to spin her failure in government as being something bigger and better than she was. She knows she's a failure. Everybody knows she was a failure. Many people, even in the SNP, are glad she's gone because she just would not bend in the wind to anyone. And they see all the damage that she's done. She's a hate-filled bigot. That's what she is. And her testament is that of basically creating an atmosphere of hate and fear and misery. And then for that goal, she's been very successful. She said there was a big part of my thinking at the time telling me that this is what the problem was, that nobody was getting emotionally involved in the lives and the chances and the fates of these young people. And then she went on to say that there was an implementation gap and that if the government don't solve this, then the promises she will have made will have been broken. And she says, and for me, that's unthinkable. You made a lot of promises and they were all broken, Nick. So don't come the cod now. Bit late for this BS, isn't it? Megan Moffat, a policy officer at Who Cares Scotland, criticised the progress being made. She said the day it was launched, there was a statement and every political party supported us doing this. We've all signed up to keep the promise, but often that means it's low-hanging fruit. Yeah, there's a lot of low-hanging fruit around here, isn't it? It's BS. I'm not even going to bother. It's all BS, and it's her just trying to frame herself as human. And we all know, deep down, she isn't. She's barely human. She's a psychopath. Coming up. Whilst there's no doubting that Nicola Sturgeon rose to the very top of Scottish politics, there's no doubt also about the way in which she did it. She was ruthless. She would throw children to the dogs to climb the ladder, to climb the greasy pole of power. And she got all the way to the top. But at what cost? It cost her life, her soul, her essence, her humanity. And she's sitting there now at the end of her career. She knows she's done. And she's trying to look back and trying to create an image in people's minds of what Nicola should have been. You know, this is what I should have been. I should have been this lovely, caring person that people will look back on and go, God, she was great. But what she knows is that people look at her with loathing. They despise her. They despise what she's done to the country. They despise the hatred she's engendered, the division. They despise everything about her. And she knows it. She's a loathsome, crawling maggot of a woman. And now she's trying to make herself out to be a loving parent of the nation. Not a chance. I'm done. Thank you very much for watching. Do please hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, leave a like, leave a comment. Please share the video. And until next time, stay safe, stay well, and I will speak to you later. Bye.